Today, I'm going to be making white chocolate pumpkin dreams. These are going to be cookies and they look delicious. They are from Baking It Beautiful. I will put a link in the description below. If you want to print this out and make them yourself, you will be able to go to that website and do that. So there are two sets of ingredients. One is for the cookies themselves and then one is for a glaze. So for the cookies, you need 1 cup of butter softened. That's basically 2 whole sticks. You need a 1/2 cup of regular sugar, 1/2 cup of brown sugar. You need 1 egg beaten, and I'm just gonna take a fork and just beat that up a little bit. You need 1 teaspoon of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. You need a 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, and you need 1 1/2 teaspoons of cinnamon. You also need 1 cup of canned pumpkin. I just bought the Great Value because why not? And you'll use probably 3/4 of that can. I wanted to show you. If you have a little pug, they love, and a cat. Our cat loved eating pumpkin too, just loved it. Then you need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and then you need 2 cups of high-quality baking chips. I'm using the Ghirardelli. I used about like a 1.5 bags. I have some left. So you need to buy 2 bags of the white chocolate chips for this. So that is the ingredients for the cookies. For the glaze, you need 4 things. You need a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, 3 tablespoons of butter, a 1/4 cup of milk, which I'll put in the refrigerator until we get to that point. And you need 1 to 1 1/2 cups of powdered sugar. You might not use it all. So the first thing you want to do is preheat your oven to 350 degrees. And then you want to cream your butter and sugars until light and fluffy. I did scrape down the bowl, but now you want to mix in the egg until it is combined. Now you want to mix in your baking powder, your baking soda, your salt, and your spices. Want to add in your pumpkin, and then once this is mixed in, we're going to add in the flour, and we're going to add the flour in about a 1/2 cup at a time until it's all mixed in. Says, lastly, stir in the high quality white chocolate chips. Store brand ones are too sweet, so make sure to splurge just a bit. I find Ghirardelli to taste best. So that is what I bought, the Ghirardelli. And normally Kevin's in here filming these videos, and so he helps me stir once I get to this point. And he's not, so I'm going to use the mixer this time. And I'm not going to leave them on here long, just long enough to get it stirred in. I have it on the lowest speed. And that's going to be it. That's it. I'm just going to barely stir them. And now I'm going to scrape this paddle down. Two pans here. I'm just going to move one over to the side. She says to scoop these onto, I have a cookie sheet with some parchment paper, into tablespoon size. This is my big cookie scoop. And so she does not say how many to put on each pan. So I'm just, I'm gonna wing it here because I don't know how much these are gonna spread out. I'm gonna do the same thing with another cookie sheet. These are going to bake for 12 to 14 minutes. So while I have these in the oven, I'm gonna put them in for 13 minutes, but then I'll let you know how long it takes. While I've got these in the oven for 13 minutes, I'm gonna load up my next pan with the next set of cookies. So this is how the first cookies look. They did not spread at all. So for the next pan, I've put a couple more on there and I might fill it up even more. But they've been sitting here for a few minutes, so I'm going to remove them from this pan, put them on my cooling rack, and then I'm gonna keep loading these pans up with cookies and bake them, and then once they're all finished baking, I'll let you know how many I got. These are taking 12.5 minutes to cook, to bake. So 12.5 minutes, and I think they look great on the bottom. I think they're perfect. So I ended up getting 43 cookies, and I probably got so many because I didn't overfill my cookie scoop and I didn't eat a lot of the batter. So normally I eat a lot of the batter and so it doesn't get made into cookies, and maybe I eat more than I think I'm eating. But this time I tried a little bit of the batter and it wasn't incredibly sweet and it wasn't as good as other raw batter I've had in the past. So I'm hoping that it'll be better once they're baked and with the addition of the glaze. So while these are cooling, we're gonna move over to make our glaze. So I have a pan here and I want to put my brown sugar and my butter in the pan. And once it starts boiling, we're going to let it boil for 1 minute. So it is boiling. I'm gonna let it boil for 1 minute until thickened. And then I'm going to take it off the burner, take it off the heat, and I'm gonna let it cool for 10 minutes. Now you want to add your milk and stir until smooth. Maybe you're supposed to stir it on the heat. It did not sound like you were supposed to stir it on the heat, but maybe you're supposed to stir it on the heat. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm gonna turn this heat because it is hardened to where there's no way you can stir that. So I'm gonna put it back on the heat, although it said cool for 10 minutes, so that doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense, but that's what I'm doing. I stirred this a lot and it was stuck to the bottom, so I don't know what the deal is with that, but now you want to add your powdered sugar to it, and it said you'll need at least a cup, if not the whole cup and a half. Have ordinarily stirred that with a metal spoon, but there was no other way to stir it. It was stuck in the bottom. So now you want to put a little bit on each cookie, and then if it firms up before we finish all the cookies, then you're supposed to be able to put it back on the heat and melt it again. So you're gonna put it on the cookie like this, and just take the bottom of your spoon and move it around like that. What I did was I frosted some, and then I have some unfrosted. So I have a bunch more of these over on the counter. I didn't pile them up. But this, honestly, this is hardened, this glaze. Mine, I put it on so thick it became a frosting. It's a frosting. For me,
looks like frosting to me. For
me, it's a frosting, but it did harden. So if you wanted to set these on top of each other, you absolutely could do that. I didn't pile them up on the plate like I did those. So it says, if you're wanting pumpkin in cookie form, these cookies are heavenly. The pumpkin cookie dough is chock full of white chocolate chips and then drizzled with the most amazing brown sugar glaze. So I want to try it. I told you that I tried some of the dough, or if I kept it in the video, I tried some of the dough raw, and it wasn't that great straight out of the mold. So I feel like once it's baked, it's going to be a lot better, a lot different. So let's try one just without the glaze.
Go ahead. You want to split that one? Or?
Sure. I don't care.
You reached for the exact one I was going to reach for.
Did I really?
Because it had more white chips on it.
Oh, the most white chips, yes. This looks wonderful.
Not only do I like the texture of them, you really get the texture of the chips, but I like a little bit of spice in there. And you actually taste a little bit of the pumpkin, but it's not like really, really strong pumpkin.
That texture is terrific.
Like a cake cookie.
Yes, it is. I've made cake mix cookies before, and they're almost like,
they're fluffier.
Yeah, they're fluffier, but that has the perfect amount of pumpkin and cinnamon and nutmeg.
Yeah, the seasonings are really good.
Yes, they're just enough. You only used a half a teaspoon of nutmeg, 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, and then that cup of pumpkin. Those are incredible, and that is before having a frosted one.
I know, I can't even imagine. I will say too, though, I'm glad you used a really nice white chip, because the other chips, the Hershey's chips or the Nestle, whatever the yellow bag, whatever those are,
right?
If you eat those, they're harder.
Well,
these are softer.
She said the reason she gave is that she thinks the store brand are sweeter. She thinks they're too sweet. She does not know me, because I like sweet, sweet, sweet. But now these are nice chips.
I like the texture of these better than just the regular ones. These aren't as hard. I like that brown sugar glaze.
Honestly, and that one in particular, it almost accentuated the nutmeg.
I could see that one of the spices definitely comes out stronger. I think it's the brown sugar that you're really, really tasting. And then it makes it the other seasonings seem stronger. Honestly, I almost like them better without.
It is incredibly sweet with the glaze frosting, but I love it. Don't get discouraged if she tells you to wait 10 minutes when you're making that glaze. I don't agree with that, because mine got rock hard. So she
cooled off.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't want to cool off too much.
Well, because it
turns just a solid sugar.
Kevin wasn't in here. Yes, Kevin would.
I'm just here to eat.
Kevin would have died if he saw what happened to his pan. But it looks great. He would never know.
Sugar melts.
Because that's not what I'm talking about. I got the butter and the brown sugar, and you let it boil for 1 minute. I let it boil for 1 minute. I took it off the heat. She said, let it cool for 10 minutes. I set my timer. I let it cool for 10 minutes. I went to then you go to add your milk into it. Add the milk and stir it until it's creamy. I added the milk to it. The milk all stayed on top of it because it was like glass.
Right.
So I'm trying to break it like an ice pick. I had to get the metal spoon out on this pan, which we don't do. And I literally scraped the heck out of that pan.
How long did you boil for?
1 minute. Just 1 minute.
It sounds like you were supposed to get like to a softball stage, and you got to like a crack stage as far as the temperature goes.
It was cracked for sure.
I don't know why these recipes just give you a time and don't tell you a temperature.
Well, yeah, because she said...
anytime you're boiling sugar, you show a temperature, not a time. She
said bring the butter and brown sugar to a boil for 1 minute or until thickened. Well, it wasn't that thick after a minute, so I just went by the time. I'm glad I didn't wait for it to thicken.
Would have been hard candy then.
Don't get discouraged if that happens to you, because as long as you don't mind using a metal spoon. Because I used a metal spoon,
it broke up.
And I scraped the heck out of it. I had already poured the milk into it, and I put it back on the heat for a little while, and yes, it broke up, and it was fine. And she even says at the end, after you've had your powdered sugar, if it starts to thicken, like mine did, while you're putting it on the cookies, you can put it back on the heat and to let it melt a little bit. So it's not going to hurt it, even once you put the sugar in it. So I honestly like it thick like this as a frosting. You could absolutely make it thinner and do a glaze, but I think it makes a really nice frosting. It reminds me, there's a caramel frosting, we reviewed it, but it's like Pillsbury or something. And this reminds me of that, except this is, I think, even sweeter.
Yeah, it's very, very sweet.
Yes.
It's pure sugar.
But I'll be honest, if you didn't want to go to the trouble of, if you were worried about that happening to you with it sticking in the pan and all that, then you could just make those cookies. And
I like just the cookies.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely delicious.
Or go buy a tub of cream cheese frosting and put on top. That'd be really good.
That would be, yes, and that would be easy. Or you could buy a tub of caramel frosting if you're worried about it sticking. But Kevin's right. It does, since it's just sugar and stuff, when you pour hot water in that pan, it comes right out. And I didn't scratch the pan, thank goodness. So the pan is fine. It's a nice, it's one of those green pans.
Ceramic.
Yeah, it takes a licking and keeps on ticking, you know. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, I will have a link below, right below this video if you want to click on it and make these yourself. And thanks for watching.